Look at his eyes, not his hands, not what's in them. His eyes. Most people see this painting and feel disgust, or horror, or they look away entirely. But if you look closely, past the violence, past the darkness, what you actually see in those eyes is not rage, it's fear. And that changes everything, because this painting, one of the most disturbing images ever put on a wall, is not really about a monster eating his child. It's about you. It's about the part of your mind that destroys the very things you love most, not because you're evil, but because you are afraid. Francisco Goya knew this. He painted this not in a gallery, not for a king, but on the wall of his own home, for himself. Alone, that should terrify you more than anything else in this image. This is Saturn devouring his son. Painted by Francisco Goya, somewhere between 1820 and 1823. It is one of 14 paintings that historians now call the Black Paintings, a series Goya painted directly onto the plaster walls of his own house outside Madrid, a house he lived in alone, deaf, isolated, disillusioned. He never intended for the world to see them. He painted them for no one. And that is precisely why they are the most honest paintings he ever made. The other 13 paintings in the series are dark, strange, unsettling. But Saturn is in a category of its own. It shows a giant figure, wild-eyed, white-knuckled, gripping a human body and biting into it with an almost animal desperation. The body is partially consumed. The image is not symbolic or gentle or metaphorical in the way Renaissance paintings are. It is raw, visceral, immediate. And yet, knowing what Goya was going through when he painted this, it is also one of the saddest images in the history of art. But before we talk about Goya, we need to go back, much further back, to the myth that started all of this. In the beginning, according to Roman mythology, before Jupiter, before Neptune, before any of the gods you know, there was Saturn. Saturn was a titan, the ruler of the universe, the god of time itself. He had power over everything. And then, a prophecy. The oracle told Saturn that one of his own children would rise up, overthrow him, and take everything he had built. His own flesh and blood would be his destruction. So Saturn made a decision, a logical decision, he told himself, every time his wife gave birth. Saturn took the child and swallowed it whole. One child, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gone, problem solved. Prophecy avoided. Power preserved. Except it wasn't, because his wife eventually hid a 6th child. She wrapped a stone in cloth and handed it to Saturn. He swallowed it without looking. That child, the one who escaped, was Jupiter. And Jupiter grew up. And he came back. And he did exactly what the prophecy said he would. Saturn lost everything he had spent his entire existence trying to protect. The very act of consuming his children, the act of destruction in the name of preservation, is what made the prophecy inevitable. His fear created the future he was trying to prevent. Now here is where this stops being mythology and starts being about you. Carl Jung, one of the most important psychologists of the 20th century, spent his life studying what he called the shadow. The shadow is the part of yourself you refuse to look at, the fears you won't admit, the insecurities you won't name, the darkness you've pushed so far down that you've convinced yourself it isn't there. And Jung's central warning was this: whatever you refuse to face, you will unconsciously act out. You don't get to choose whether your shadow controls you. You only get to choose whether you control it consciously or whether it operates in the dark, destroying things without your awareness. Saturn is the shadow made visible. He is not evil. He is not a villain. He is a father, a ruler, a man, who had one overwhelming fear, the fear of being replaced, of becoming irrelevant, of losing what he built, and rather than face that fear, he fed it, one child at a time. Look at his hands again. He is not holding his son the way a predator holds its prey. He is holding him the way someone holds something they are desperate not to lose. That grip is not aggression. That grip is panic. Saturn is not destroying his sun because he wants to. He is destroying his sun because the alternative, accepting that he cannot control the future, is something he is completely incapable of doing. And so he does the only thing fear ever does. He consumes. Now, why did Goya paint this on his own wall? By 1820, Goya was 74 years old. He had survived a near-fatal illness that left him completely deaf. He had lived through the Napoleonic invasion of Spain. He had watched a country he loved tear itself apart, a monarchy that was supposed to protect its people, instead turning on them, consuming them, executing them, imprisoning them, to protect its own power. The Spanish government was Saturn, devouring its own children. To preserve itself, Goya wasn't painting mythology. He was painting what he saw happening around him, and perhaps, if we're honest, what he saw happening inside himself too, because isolation does something to a person. Fear does something to a person. It makes you grip tighter, control more, trust less. It makes you consume the things you love, your relationships, your creativity, your openness. In the name of protecting what you have left, Goya painted Saturn on his dining room wall, the room where he ate. Make of that what you will. So what do we actually do with this? Because this is not about staring at dark paintings and feeling hopeless. The myth of Saturn ends in failure. But it doesn't have to be your story. Here is what Saturn gets catastrophically wrong, and what you can do differently. Lesson 1. Fear dressed as strategy is still fear. Saturn convinced himself that consuming his children was a rational response to a real threat. He built logic around his fear. He made it sound reasonable. This is what we do every day. We don't call it fear. We call it being realistic, being careful, being smart. But when your decisions are consistently about controlling outcomes, eliminating risk, and removing anything that threatens your position, that is not strategy. That is Saturn. Lesson 2. You cannot protect something by destroying it. Saturn's prophecy came true not despite his actions, but because of them. Every child he consumed was another act that justified Jupiter's eventual revenge. The thing you are trying to protect, your relationship, your reputation, your legacy, your sense of self, cannot survive the grip of fear. It can only survive in the open hand. Lesson 3. Focus the thing directly. Jung's answer to the shadow was not to fight it or suppress it further. It was to look at it, to name it, to say, "This is what I am afraid of. This is where my fear lives." Saturn never looked at his fear. He only acted on it. Goya, sitting alone in that house, deaf and aging and disillusioned, looked at his fear, and he painted it on the wall, at full scale, so he had to see it every day. Maybe that's the bravest thing in this entire story. Not Perseus slaying a monster, not Jupiter overthrowing a tyrant, just an old man, painting his darkest truth on the wall of his own home, and choosing to live with it in plain sight. The next time you feel yourself gripping too tightly, controlling too much, destroying something in the name of protecting it, remember Saturn's eyes, not the rage everyone else sees, the fear underneath it, and ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of losing? Because the answer to that question is not in the painting, it's in you. That's the thing about Goya's black paintings. He never explained them. He never published them. He never showed them to anyone. He just painted his truth and lived inside it. The least we can do is look. If this made you see something in yourself you weren't expecting, that's exactly the point. Every painting we cover on this channel is a mirror. The myth is the frame. The symbol is the glass. But what you see inside, that's yours. Thank you for watching till the end of the video. Please subscribe if you don't mind to help this channel grow. See you then.